All right. Let's open up in prayer. Let's open up in prayer. Father, we thank you now in the name of Jesus for this opportunity, Lord God, to learn of the subject of Christian counseling. Now, Lord God, we pray that you would instill in our hearts, Lord God, a desire to bring hope to those that need it, Lord God. To be leaders, Lord God, of influence, Lord God, in the lives of those that are broken, that are wounded, that need restoration, that we could operate in this ministry of reconciliation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, we before we get started tonight, we got a couple of announcements. You have your information. You have your information for graduation on your graduation form. You should have two sheets. The first sheet is going to tell you all the graduation information, everything. We have not locked in that location just yet. We're down to 2 locations. One of them being the location that we previously used. And 2,100 seats is just not enough seats for us. But we're trying to see if Bethany North or Bethany South will be able to accommodate us. You can do it back there, that's fine. We'll be able to accommodate us so that we can take care of that. But we're still working on. You'll be given information on that. However, the graduation fee is listed, is due. The due date, somebody had to pay me.
February 7th.
February 7th. February 7th. It is due by February 7th. That's $150. That covers all of your graduation. We're going to ask that you come up, Dr. Netta, either to one of these front rows on this side. We're going to keep the third rows free for tonight for audience purposes. Graduation, wherever you like to sit, it'll be fine. Kelsey's sitting there. Yeah. So graduation information, $150 is important. Very much important. But it's due February 7th. This is not including your licensing fee. If you are going before the licensing board, you are going to have to pay a fee of $199. You'll get a sheet on that. That's not due to mid-March. I believe it's the 3rd week in March. I don't have that paper in front of me, but you'll get a copy of that paper next week for your licensing fee. That fee is not due until the 3rd week in March. It has to be paid in money order. It has to be made payable to the institution. Made payable to the institution. We give all of the students that are being licensed. We send a copy of the money order with an electronic payment from the account. So that's what the money order is for. We can't pay it in debit card, we can't pay it in cash. It has to be paid in money order for the licensing fee. Now, the graduation fee can be paid in different ways, in different methods, but it's for the licensing fee. And I believe that's all the announcements that I have. Am I missing an announcement, Kelsey? If you did not get your 1098T form, that's the form that you give your tax preparer and stop by the administration office. If you didn't get it last week, stop by the administration office. Make sure you get a copy of that, your grade sheet, or you may not have a grade sheet because you're still in your present course. Your balance sheet. Make sure you stop by and get that. And if you don't have your graduation form, make sure you go by there. All right. Dr. Odenp, you can't sit there. You're going to have to come to one of these front rows. Dr. Swain, we're going to get you to come up to one of these front rows. Okay. Tonight we're going to have a live session, a live counseling freedom session. Now, how many of you you're working on your dissertation? You see your hand, you're working on your dissertation. How many of you are at least about 15 to 20 pages in? All right. How many of you are under that? Right. That's fine. That's fine. I believe you're the crew that likes pressure. You like pressure. That's fine. That's fine. But a dissertation, you can get started with that dissertation, do everything else, and now as you learn, you apply, which means you can have your consultation now. You can have your freedom sessions now. You can build your problem list now. You can develop your levels of conflict, and you can begin that process of treatment plan. You can begin that process now. You can't. You have to have 2 individuals, and what this is designed to do is designed to be a launching pad for you to have clients. Now, in your consultation, you be sure to let the client know that I am a doctorate student in a Bible college. This is a part of my dissertation. I've been trained, I'm in training and being trained for this. I cannot charge for it. Make sure you let them know that. Make sure you document that in your consultation notes. Make sure you document that in your consultation notes, that when you turn in your dissertation to your licensing board or to the institution as well, that it's already in the notes that you did not and you cannot charge for it. Now, you have to treat that as if you're a professional. Do a great job, because if you do a good job, you get referrals. Amen. Amen. And what was 2 clients turned into 4, 5 or so, and before you know it, your name is starting to build. You're starting to build some influence and momentum. Now, Dr. Olympe, if I can get you to set these chairs the way they're set up now, if you can set them up right here on this carpet, that would be great. That would be great. Now, that's with the licensing board. As far as your dissertation, you have to make sure that you do not charge for it. Make sure you do not charge for it. Now, you have counseling theory that you've already been since October of last year. You've been dealing with counseling theory, so you begin that part of the dissertation. I have a counseling practice. Now you're getting your wheels rolling. And last week was awesome. If you missed last week, it was truly awesome. It was awesome. Now, the way it's going to go tonight is going to go a little bit different than it did last week. I apologize. Make sure you bring your DSM-5 to class from this point on. Your DSM-5. Make sure you bring that to class from this point on. If you're looking like, what is the DSM-5? The DSM-5 was the book we were telling you back in November to start getting, to get prepared, because we're going to start digging in that book in a little bit. We're going to start using it in a little bit. So I need you to make sure that you get that. All right. Now tonight, the way it's going to go, we're going to have a client. Dr. Ernestine George is going to be the client. We're going to have a counselor. And your name, for some reason, slips my mind. Dr. Pat Dawson. Dr. Pat Dawson is going to be the counselor, and you guys are going to take notes. Now, the reason you have the pen on mic, Dr. Dawson, because you have to take notes as well. Now, remember the order of operation. First thing we do is what? Consultation. After a consultation, we have freedom session. But we're jumping right into the freedom sessions right now. Right into the freedom sessions right now. We're jumping right into the freedom session. After the consultation is the freedom session. Dr. Dawson, you're going to have roughly about 15 minutes or so. You're going to have roughly about 15 minutes or so. You got a timer for me? Okay, I have it on my watch. You're going to have roughly about 15 minutes or so to ask as many questions as possible. Remember, we want to explore the client. We want to explore the client. After we ask the questions about the client, after we're asking questions about, tell me about your childhood, right here on this corner. Can we make room for her right here on this corner, just so she can have somewhere? Is there a certain way you need to sit? You need a chair right here as well? All right, we can get a chair for you. She had surgery, so she needs that accommodation. Do you want a chair? All right. And after we do get all the information we got, you are going to be responsible. You can communicate with the people that's sitting next to you. Whatever you want to do, you're going to be responsible for building a problem list. You build the problem list. After you build the problem list, you are going to then put it in levels of conflict. You are going to do that. After you do the levels of conflict, then you're going to develop a long-term goal, an obsession. You're going to state the session objective for the treatment plan. If I could get someone to help me out, Dr. Brad, if you can help me out, Dr. Olympe, if you can help me out. All right, it is actually 2 sheets. It's 2 sheets. They get session notes and treatment plan. If you can pass them out to the individuals. You get session notes and treatment plans. So, we begin tonight. If we can get you in your seat, we'll get the client, we'll get you to sit over there on the far side. Right there, she has to come greet you. And when she comes greet you, when she comes let you in, you come into the office, then you can have a seat. Here, Dr. Dawson, we're picking up from you opening the door, letting her in the office, you're greeting her, sitting down, so why are we here? And you start the process. And I really want you to dig in every area that you can. If for some reason, don't worry about getting stuck. Everybody pay attention to her mannerisms, pay attention to her facial expressions, pay attention to the questions that she's asking. You jot down notes of questions that you would have thought to ask, some things you would have thought to ask, and make sure you jot down as much information that they are giving you for the freedom session. For the freedom session, because you have to build a problem. You need something? I'll put 2 right here, 2 right here, 2 right here. Now, Kelsey's going to have to take good notes for you, because you're going to have to build your stuff off of Kelsey's notes. So you're going to have to take very, very good notes for her. Dr. Dawson, you're going to be writing as you talk, but you need a clipboard. A clipboard? Kelsey, get a clipboard out of my office if you would. Thank you so much, Dr. Olenby. Y'all ready? Y'all seem nervous. Somewhat? All right. Not a problem. Remember, you write down everything. If you see some concerns, you're documenting those concerns. You're documenting those concerns. Everybody got it? All right. We're about to get rolling. Kelsey is going to give her. You can use your session notes sheet if you want to, or you can use your tablet, whichever one you want. Now, again, I like to write on a blank sheet of paper and then transfer over to my session notes. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's fine. But if you want to write down everything on the front and the back of your session notes, that's perfectly okay as well. All right. And we get started. Dr. Dawson, you can have a seat here. I will signal you to get up, open the door, and I need you to make sure that your mic is on. I always need you to talk into the mic. You got to cut it on. You got to cut it on.
Testing.
You have to test it.
Testing.
Anybody else need paper? You're going to have 15 minutes. Your freedom session is definitely going to last longer than 15 minutes, but you're going to have 15 minutes, and we get started now. Action.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Dr. Dawson. I'm the CEO. Welcome to Visionaries Incorporation counseling session, and you come into my office for
Dr. Dawson, if you could speak up a little bit, that'd be perfect.
Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Dawson. I will be counseling with you today. Can I get your name, please? Understand, George. Okay, Ms. George. Again, I'm your therapist for today, Ms. George. Can you tell me why you're here today? Court order. Ma'am? I was court ordered at the beginning. Okay. Can you tell me why the court ordered you to come here today?
They say I got an anger problem because I beat up my husband because he wouldn't let me have my baby.
They say you have an anger problem.
Yes.
Do you feel like you have an anger problem?
No. As long as you do what I tell you to do.
Okay. So you feel like as long as you are in control, that there should be no
I
anger?
am in control.
Okay, can you tell me how you feel like you're in control?
Because if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to beat you up.
Is that something that you always do when you get angry, you beat people?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me what you get from doing that?
It makes me feel like I'm in
Pick your mic up some, Dr. George, if you would.
Okay, so you like feeling like you're in control
Yes, I do.
of everything or just some things?
Everything.
Okay, Ms. George, can you begin to tell me, as a child coming up, did you have those anger problems as well?
No, because everybody did what I told them to do.
Even as a child?
Yes. My sisters, my brother, and my friends, they all did what I told them to do. Otherwise, they got clumped up.
And what about your parents?
Oh, my daddy was a fighter. He used to love to fight. My mom and dad used to fight every Saturday night. He would go out and get drunk and come home, and him and my mama would just fight, and we would be peeping out from under the bed looking.
So your dad was the aggressor?
Sometimes my mama would beat him up.
Okay, what made you think that happened with your dad coming in drunk and wanting to attack your mom?
Because he thought he was a bully.
Did you feel like maybe the alcohol may have played a factor in him wanting to fight her?
I don't know about all of that because he seemed to be mean all the time.
All the time. What about your mom? How did she feel about that?
Well, I think she just kind of went along with what was going on because it was a lot of us.
So give me the reason why you think your mom went along with it.
Who want a woman with 13 children?
Did your dad ever beat you and your siblings?
He tried, but we beat him up. We caught him in the bed, he whipped my brother, and we caught him in the bed and tied him to the bed, and we beat him.
And what did he do? How did he react?
He called the police, and the police tried to take us away, but we ran out of the woods and he did.
Are your parents still living?
No, they're both deceased. Unfortunately. I like my mom, but not so much my dad.
Would you care to tell me how your parents died?
My mama, she had, what you call it, that disease where your mind suddenly go away from you?
Alzheimer's?
Yeah, that's what she hated.
What about your dad?
And my dad, well, my sister found him in the house dead. Dead as a doorknob.
What was the cause of death?
The doctor, the coroner, excuse me, the coroner said that he died of a massive heart attack. His heart just quit ticking.
How did you all feel about the death of your dad and mom?
I cried about my mom because I liked her better than I did my dad. My dad, I just went to the funeral because they said we had to go.
Okay, so what I'm gathering here, Ms. George, you had some issues with your dad.
Yes.
Okay, do you think those issues occurred with you and your siblings because your dad was beating your mom and was beating you guys?
To a certain extent, I guess.
Is there any love between you and your dad?
I love him, but not like now that I look back at it, I love him, but not like I love my mom.
Why did you love your mom more?
Because my mom she was a good, kind lady. And she was always trying to help her girls to be better girls.
Okay. Okay, Ms. George, I have heard everything that you relayed to me today in regard to your parents and how you feel. There's something that I would like for you to do for me. But first, I would like to know, would you like to have another session? Would you like to come back and talk with me again?
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to, since the court said I got to.
Did they give you a number of, times that they would like you to visit with us?
They said it would be left up to you,
Okay.
but we gonna finish this up quick, right?
Well, that depends on you. What do you think?
Well, now, I got things I need to be doing, and I need to get my baby back so I can get my food stamps and my welfare and stuff, and we gonna have to cut this year stuff short.
Okay, let's try and see what's gonna be more important. You coming in so we could resolve your issue, or you wanna do the other things. So we can discuss that as well, okay?
I guess.
So have you shown, anger lately to someone?
I'm getting angry right now,
Can you tell me why?
because I told you what I need, and you don't seem to be understanding what I'm telling you.
Would you like to relate that to me again, please?
I said, I gotta get through with this mess, so I can get my baby back, so I can get my food stamps back, my other benefits and things back. I'm dependent on that now.
Okay, so we're going to work together, okay? And we're going to work as swiftly as we can, so you'll be able to get your children back and get all your resources back. How about that? Can we work that together? But I need you to do something for me before we can implement all of this into the plan, okay?
Okay, and what is this?
Okay? I would like for you, who you living with right now? Can you tell me that?
Mostly in my car. Because folks don't want me to stay with them, because they know how I am. And they know I'll knock them up quickly.
Okay? So we can find a place, a shelter for you.
A shelter?
No,
What do you mean by a
no,
shelter?
No, not a shelter, a place for you, that will
Oh.
shelter you, that will keep you for a while we're in session. And, will you accept that?
I guess, I don't know. We got to see about that. Cause I think I can do, I've been doing good on my own all the while. Why can't I continue to do what I've been doing?
Well, we're gonna leave that choice up to you. Will you feel comfortable living in your car rather than in a nice, soft bed in a warm building?
Miss Dawson, let me explain something to you. I've been on my own, taking care of myself since I was 15 years old. And I don't think I did too bad. I managed to graduate out of high school, and I got a year of college. So,
Okay, Ms. Jones, I'm not cutting you off, all that is good. But we're here today because we want to get to the root of your problem, okay? So we want to help you to get into a nice place while we're doing the counseling sessions, okay? Can you accept that from us today?
can I think about that?
You have that choice. You can.
I'm gonna think about that. We'll talk about that on the next session.
Okay, so you will be coming back to the next session.
I guess so.
Okay?
But if I don't make it, don't blame me.
So who is blame?
I don't know. Don't blame me.
We're gonna pause right here. We're gonna pause right here. Thank you so much. Give Dr. Dawson a hand. You said right there where you are. No. Here, you cut your mic off. You can hand me your mic. Right, quick. All right, you got a lot of information from that situation. Before we go any further, we're gonna get Dr. Young to come up, and she's gonna share some things that she picked up from watching that. Some of the things that you saw, I was asking a few of you, what did you see? And the majority of your vision was consumed with the client. And rightfully so, because you want to get as much information as possible to begin your assignment. But I want you to pay attention to the counselor as well. Come on up, Doc. Share some of the things you saw, and I'm going to share some of the things I saw.
First of all, I want to say good job, Dr. Dawson. Very good. What I saw immediately, the first thing that I saw was you asked questions, but you could ask for why questions rather than leading questions. For example, you said, why didn't your dad beat you and your kids? I mean, you and your sisters and your brothers. You can ask, did your dad beat? Who else did he beat? Or, just why questions, not questions that can lead the client into a certain answer or a certain direction. you ask questions like, would you care to tell me how your parents died? That's not why you're there. You say, why? How did your parents die? Would you care to tell me how your parents died? How did your parents die? And then you watch the body language to see if they're comfortable. Yeah.
How, I said how, I said why.
No, you said, would you care to tell me how? Like you gave her a choice. And you're the counselor. So all of that summed it up to, I said you never took control of the session. The whole time the client had control of the session. And it was almost like you were afraid to lose her as the client. This is your first counseling session, so you're there to establish who she is as the client. You're there to introduce yourself, and you are there to see if you want to take on that client. Not only if they want you to be their counselor, because remember.
I apologize. We are in freedom session.
Okay, you said that was in person.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, you don't have to be afraid to lose her if, like, she threatened you. You know, she said she was getting angry. You know, that was threatening.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's your time to take control of the situation and say, look, do you want to continue a session? Here's what I have to offer. This is what you need. Would you like to continue? So, that's what I thought.
All right.
Thank you.
Mic check. Okay. Very quickly, I'm going to point out some things that I saw. The client, awesome job as well. Awesome job. You don't learn how to swim without getting wet. So you got to get in the water. Awesome job. The client was leading you from the beginning, the moment you came in. You remember the attitude of counseling. The attitude, I'm not intimidated. Why? Because you came to me. All right, I'm going to say something. I'm live on camera, but it's true. Never be intimidated by a client because they came to you, okay? Never be intimidated by a client and feel like you're offending the client or anything like that. The client will let you know if it's a sensitive area, not to go down that area at that moment, but don't feel like you're trespassing. Don't feel like you're trespassing. Especially with a court-ordered client. You need this. Changes the whole perspective, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, what you gonna do? Walk out of the office? Well, you're not gonna get your kids. I'm not saying say that, but the attitude is not one of a passive attitude of I don't want to make sure that I don't offend you or things of that nature. You were asking questions based on the symptoms. There were signs and symptoms. Signs are what you see, what you pick up, what you know, and symptoms are what she tell you. She told you you had an anger problem. You had a whole freedom session around anger. Now, I know the court ordered her to come here, but we're not here to diagnose right now. We're not trying to find a solution right now. All we're doing is trying to collect data. That's all we're doing is collecting data. Do your job on the first couple of sessions of getting the data. I cannot do my job on the next couple of sessions if I don't do it effectively on the first couple of sessions, and that's just get data. Some of this data you're going to think have nothing to do with what you're here for. You don't know that. Get all the data you can. Collect all the data that you can. Don't try to diagnose the client. It's a freedom session. Also, you ask the question, would you like to have another session? I'm gonna regress just a second back to the statement of the court ordered you. You have to have another session. So you don't ask, would you like to have another session? You make a statement like this. We're going to have another session. What would be a good day and time for you? I have these days that are available. What works for you? You ask those type of questions. You're directing it. Also, in the very beginning, the client came in and said that I had an anger problem. I had an anger issue. And this was your response. Do you have an anger issue? Do you think you have an anger issue? You don't ask that. You ask, if a client comes in with a self-diagnosis, the first thing that I want to know is who diagnosed it. So you ask that question. When the client comes in and say, I have an anger issue, you say, who told you that you have an anger issue? That's when you jump to a who question when the client gives a self-diagnosis of any kind.
Okay.
Speaking of Mike. Cut it up.
When she asked me, when I told her I had an anger problem, she should have asked me, how did I know that? Where did I get that from? So,
Who told you that you have a counseling? Who told you that you have an anger problem? Keep that statement. We'll go there in just a second. We'll go there in just a second. Who told you that you have an anger problem? Why? And then you say, well, everybody say it. Then why do they say that? Now I'm back on the why question. Why do they say that? I'm not jumping to your self-diagnosis. That's a symptom. And remember, the client is only telling you what they want you to know. They're only giving you what they want you to know. So it's somewhat biased information. All right, we pick it up from the very beginning. Everybody keep the notes that you have. I am going to operate as a client. Pay attention to some of the adjustments that I make in the session. The client is instructed to remain in the same way that they are now. So, great. All right. Give us a few minutes. How you doing, man? You here for Dr. Young?
yes, I am.
Come on, follow me this way. First thing, I'm not greeting her in the hall. I'm not introducing myself in the hallway. Business goes over better behind a desk or in an office. So we're sitting down now. Great, you can have a seat right there. So, what's your name?
Ernestine George.
Ernestine George. That's great, that's great. You from Baton Rouge?
No,
Where you from?
North Louisiana.
North Louisiana? What part of North Louisiana?
Winsburg.
Winsburg. Where's Winsburg?
That's up near Shreveport.
Okay. So you over there near Shreveport?
Yeah.
Okay. I see. I tell you what, why are we here today?
Well, I'm here because the court sent me.
Time out. Do you see her attitude change? What happened to her attitude? It's more humble. Why is it more humble? Even though she was instructed to remain hostile, her attitude changed. Number one, not only did I take control of the session, I disarmed her by getting her to discuss something she's familiar with and something Dr. Dawson didn't do a lot of. I smiled.
Yes. And most times we
Turn the lapel volume down just a little bit, Kelsey, on the soundboard. It's a sliding bar. Just turn it down just a little bit. Smile a little bit more. Smiling is a way to disarm your client, and the client is still hostile. So you're from Winsburg. You say it's up there by Shreveport.
yes.
Okay, so why are we here today?
I said the court sent me here.
The court sent you here?
Yes.
Okay. What you did to the court?
Nothing.
You didn't do nothing to the court.
No.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a freedom session. Tell you what a freedom session is. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. It's going to feel like I'm probing. It's going to feel like I'm asking questions about everything. If for some reason you're uncomfortable with a question, just let me know. We can bypass that and we'll go into something else. That works for you?
I guess.
Okay, cool. All right. So, you said the court sent you here. Tell me, why did the court send you here?
Well, I'm trying to get my baby back, and my food stamps and stuff. And they told me I had to see a counselor for my anger issues if I wanted to achieve those things.
Oh, what's your baby name?
Priscilla.
Okay, you got Priscilla. And her last name will be Brown with it. Just messing with her. Priscilla is her name. What's her last name?
Jackson.
Priscilla Jackson. How old is Priscilla?
She 3.
3?
Yes.
3 years old. Okay. Oh man, I remember 3 years. I bet you she's a doll. You have a picture of her?
No.
You don't have a picture in your phone?
No.
Okay. All right. Tell me about Priscilla. Tell me how does she act? What does she like to do?
Well, the last time they let me see her.
Pause. What am I doing? I'm disarming her. I'm getting her to trust me. It doesn't look like I'm just sitting. I'm getting her to be comfortable.
Yes.
I'm asking about something that she can relate to. You're going to have to find some things. You might not know those things, but ask them. So tell me about Priscilla.
Well, I haven't seen her in almost a year.
Okay.
And the last time I saw her, she was still falling. And they tell me now that she's walking and and her other grandmother, who I can't stand, got her potty training her.
Okay. Okay, so let me get this straight. Priscilla is your sweetheart,
Yes,
and you now have to come to counseling in order to get her back.
yes.
Tell me, what do you mean by that? What do you mean get her back? What happened?
They took her from me when I beat up her dad
Okay.
because they said that I was a threat to.
Pause right there. For some reason, there's still echoes coming from this corner. I don't know who it's coming from, but it's still coming. You cannot let this stuff surprise you. You can't let it surprise. I'm just using it as an opportunity to express that. It has to be. Notice what I said when she said I beat up her dad. I act as if that was normal. You beat up her dad. What? No, I didn't do that. All I did was say, okay. And I let her continue to talk for a second. And we're back at that. So you beat up your dad, her dad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put him in the hospital.
Okay.
I broke his arm and gave him they said about 15, 20 stitches. I was trying to get rid of him.
You were trying to get rid of him?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Ernestine. You're from Winsboro.
Yes.
Let's start off this way. Tell me about your childhood. I mean, where'd you go to school?
At this little crazy school, it was called Franklin Parish Training School.
Franklin Parish Training School? Okay.
And
Smiling again.
I didn't like the principal because half of the folks at that school was related to my parents.
Pause. Something I picked up already with the client. The client don't like nobody. Am I right?
Yes.
All right, great. So when I hear the client say something aggressive, I'm not automatically attaching it to who the client is or how the client is. The client has some hurt already, letting me know that. I just need to find out the areas by collecting all the data that I can. Okay, you didn't like the principal pick up.
No, because he was always calling me in his office. Look, girl, I know you did something you didn't have no business doing today. Yeah.
That's how you sounded, yeah, just
Yes. And I just tuned him out.
Okay.
And cut him off.
Right now, you're thinking about a particular stage in life. How old are you right now when you're thinking about it?
This started when I was about 7.
About 7? Okay, who are you living with?
My grandmother.
You was living with your grandmother. Okay. Did you have that information, Dr. Dawson? She was living with her grandmother?
No.
Okay. Living with
She was living
grandmother.
with her parents when I talked with her.
My parents lived right up the street, but in the daytime I was at my mom's. In the nighttime, I went to my grandmother.
You went to your grandmother. Okay. That's great. And if there's ever a time that you find conflicting information, you wouldn't address it just when you hear it saying, you said this earlier. You would come back, ask some of those questions again to see if the client is making up as they go. You would do that. Okay. So you were living with your grandmother. Okay. Tell me about your relationship with your mom.
My relationship with my mom was pretty good. I just didn't like the fact that she let my daddy beat her up.
What do you mean let him beat her up? What do you mean?
It was like he would, no matter what she did, it didn't seem like it was good enough for him. And when he was drinking, he was horrible. That's why we beat him up.
Okay. All right. And your dad would fight your mom on a regular. See, she want me to get off the subject. She want me to get off of her dad and her mom to get on, I took care of him. That's why we beat him up. I'm not falling for that. I'm not going after that. You want me to follow your lead down a trail where you're more comfortable because you're not comfortable with what we're talking about. Well, I can't pick up my signs nor my symptoms if I don't deal with this subject. Your hand up, speak loudly if you will.
Would that be where her aggression is coming because she said her mom didn't defend herself?
Oh no, I don't know. I just gotta get. All I'm doing right now is getting down. That's it. Is that where her aggression is coming from? Because her mom wouldn't defend herself.
So she fights everybody.
Or she fights everybody. Okay, all right, great. And that's possibly some of the area, but we can ask some of the questions. And I'm just going to take a few more minutes. Are you still taking notes?
Yes.
All right, the client, few more minutes, and we're gonna transition in just a second. So, you said that your dad would beat your mom. How long did this go on?
For years.
For years?
For years.
For years? And did you see that your mom was somewhat responsible because she wouldn't leave?
Yes.
Okay.
I blame her, because I would have hit him in the head and left. Left him never leave me.
Where's your mom now?
She's deceased.
She's deceased.
Yes.
Okay. When did she pass?
My sister called me early that morning and told me that she had passed.
Here you go. You're welcome. I'll tell you what, we've gotten a lot of information today, but I want to start off with this. Ernestine, Priscilla needs you. And this is more than just a court order. This is the steps to get to the place where you can be the best possible mother to your child. That's what you want to do? All right. I'll tell you what, our time is up. I want to be there for you. Here's my card. I want to make sure that if you have any questions, if you have anything, you email that number on there, you text it, or that email address, you text that number, you call it, or whatever, and I'm going to be there for you. I have openings for next week. Would the beginning of the week or the end of the week be better? It doesn't matter? Okay. How about if we set it for Tuesday, 4 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. We're going to close out in prayer, and because I am a Christian counsel. We're going to close out in prayer.
What you mean?
We join hands and we pray.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I tell you what, you don't have to. I just want you to you can stay right there for a second. I'm going to pray. Father, I thank you right now in the name of Jesus for this opportunity. I pray, Lord God, that you begin to heal, you begin to open doors for Ernestine, Lord God, that she, Lord God, will be able to have all of the things that she needs to be the best possible mother that she could be. In Jesus' name, amen. Ernestine, I thank you so much. See you next week. Come on, we hugs in this office. So I disarmed her in every way possible. In every way possible. Give her a hand. Thank you. Awesome job. All right, what are some of the things we picked up very quickly, loudly? Some of the things we picked up first from the counselor. Some of the things you noticed from the counselor. Come on. Hold on just a second. Come on.
The counselor came in to control the situation, guided the whole entire session, didn't allow the client to lose it.
And the client tried.
Yes.
Besides the fact that I was nervous, and I know what I wanted to say, and most of it I got out with Dr. Dawson. But you took control and wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say.
So let me ask this question. At what point, I mean, I do counseling too, but I do it in the church. It's a different situation than just doing, regular, I wouldn't say regular counseling, but it is Christian counseling, private counseling on y'all. At what point do you not let the person express more or do more talking than the counselor do?
You
Because
can.
a lot of times I know they almost solve a lot of their own issues when they began to.
I just did the majority of the talking then because we were on a time of about 8 minutes at that time. So at any time you see the client is starting to spill and it's not in a negative form and they're just giving you data, you do that, but you still continue with your line of questioning as well. So yeah, you're correct. Get your hand up.
You not only disarmed her, but in every avenue, when she said something that was somewhat abrasive, smile, and you changed the conversation. You brought her right back to where you wanted her to be. It appeared at the end that she felt like I've made a friend. Even though she didn't agree with everything, she was more comfortable at the end than she was when she started.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Basically, piggybacking off of what he was saying, like you took away the negativity and put positivity. Like she was trying to bring forth all the negative vibes and stuff like that, but you brought forth the more positive vibes.
Now again, Dr. Dawson, you did an outstanding job. You did an outstanding. No, I'm saying that for the class. I don't want the class to feel nervous Like, oh Lord, he's gonna call me. Is he gonna correct anything that I do?
Yeah.
I probably will.
That was good.
I probably will. You can't learn how to swim unless you get wet.
No, that was a tremendous learning experience
Yes,
for me.
that's what I
Because I
wanted
learned how to
say.
do something different than what I do otherwise, so that helped.
You did great.
Normally, I would.
Speak up if you would.
Normally, I would not have been that aggressive, but I know that this is on the role playing. And, we have to learn to be comfortable with ourselves before we can get other people to be comfortable with us.
Great. Kelsey, what you got? Instructor's daughter.
Okay, so from the therapist, in the beginning, when we use like nothing can surprise you, you really have to take control of whatever they say. It has to be normal to you and to them. Like nothing can be like, you did what now? But you gotta just take control of the situation and not let where they leading you be where you go.
And taking control of the situation doesn't mean that you tell the client what to do. You continue to ask the questions. You continue to ask the questions. All right, we're shifting. We're shifting. You now have information. Build your problem list. Take a second. Build your problem list. You have a few minutes to build your problem list. List every problem you can down the line. Down the line. Now remember, if it's a problem, you need evidence. As evidenced by. As indicated by. You need that information. Everybody got that? In a better form. You would.
On the solution, the session notes.
On the session notes. You would transfer your notes to the session notes in a better form. Your problem list needs to be on another sheet of paper. And you can do that on your computer when you type it up and stuff like that to go in the file. But your session notes, everything you just took in the freedom session, that's what we just had, that freedom session.
From both?
From both of them count as one.
Okay.
Both of them count as one.
I know you may answer this early on, but, do actual session notes, actual treatment plans, you know, like in our paper?
Yes, you include actual session notes, actual treatment plans. I don't care if you just type it up without a format or whatever, and you just type it with the bold, let you know the areas or whatever it is. You put that in your dissertation. Actual session notes. You cannot use real names. You can say client 1, client 2, client A, client B. You can make up a name, whatever, but you cannot use real names. And you have to make sure in the dissertation that you state the names of the client has been replaced for protection of confidentiality. You got that? All right, go ahead. Jump on your problem list. Jump on your problem list. Build your problem list. Build your problem list. A list of problems going down. A list of problems going down. After you build your problem list, you need to go into your levels of conflict. And the way that I do my levels of conflict, I put level 1 at the top of the page, and I write on the side of it, environmental, worldly influences. Then I put level 2 in the middle of the page, and I put personal, fleshly influences. Then I put level 3 at the bottom of the page, enough room to write up under it, and I put satanic influences, demonic. And then I begin to fill in, after I build my problem list, I begin to fill in where they go. And again, some problems can go in all 3, or 2 out of the 3, or 1 out of the 3. Go ahead, I'm going to give you a second to do it. I'm going to be walking around. I will have the camera walking around as you go. So now the students are working on building a problem list so that they can begin to put in the levels of conflict. Anybody remember why the problem list is important? Anybody? Say it again.
So you can have something to develop your treatment plan from.
The foundation of your treatment plan is going to come from the problems that you've discovered. And you're right, Dr. Dawson, so you can reflect on it. Dr. Brown, will you do me a favor? Will you bring me that camera stand, if you would? You can just pick it up and bring it, if you would. Thank you much.
You said they could, like, a problem could very well be in each level?
It can surface on all three levels. So don't be afraid that, hey, I think this one applied to all three of them. That's fine. Put it in all three then. That means that I just need to reiterate it on each level. Okay. You guys are quiet tonight. Guess I'll bring this around. Dr. Victorian, what are some of the problems that you've noticed with the client?
She's indicated that she had an anger problem, and it wasn't initially addressed as to, or the question wasn't asked, how did she come to know that she had an anger problem, or why she related to herself as having an anger problem. The reason for her attending the session was that it was court ordered, and then she went on to indicate that she felt that she was in control of her actions, even when she was in some form or engaged in some form of maybe a hostile or heightened environment or occurrence in her life.
Okay. Dr. Edith, what did you pick up with the client? What are some of the problems you have with the client?
Yeah, the problems that I had, she wanted to always be in control of the situation from the beginning, even though she was court ordered. And her problem started at an early age, due to her, she said her dad drinking and, abused her mother, which was domestic violence. And she also had a problem with her mother dying, and she didn't get there in time. And, and it affected her, but, after you questioned her, it did make her voice that.
Okay. What you got, Dr. Barnish?
It seems like she has a problem controlling her emotions, period, which I feel like that kind of has something to do with her anger issue, because she likes to fight and she likes to be in control, so it just seems like when she's put in a situation that she can't control, then she lashes out and gets angry, or even like she said, missing her mom's funeral, she got really emotional, so I think that's one of her main problems.
Okay. Dr. Jones, what you got?
She's violent. It's evident by beating up her father, and it appears to be her answer for every problem. She's also has a controlling problem. It's evident by constantly trying to lead the conversation, and saying what she would do. Okay. The other thing is, she's pretty much mad with the world. Yeah, as evident by every area from school, the principal, from the court, all of her statements,
Not wanting to pray.
not wanting to pray. Yes.
All of that is evidence. All of that is evidence. Dr. Onapede, what are some of the problems you saw with the client you have listed?
Yes, her love for her mom made her became defensive and aggressive, and that became something that became part of her life. And just problems.
Just a problem. That's great. What do you got, Dr. Swain?
I have that she had no self-control. When people make you angry, you can't just start lashing out. So she had no self-control. To me, that was something embedded from satanic influence is what I would say. I would also say worldly influence. Probably the people she's been around. That's how they've handled problems. But,
Hence her dad.
But you know, some of that is also manifested or heightened or made bigger by satanic influence. So.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have for the client, and I'm going back up here, does anybody have for the client a problem that is unforgiveness?
Yes.
Unforgiveness. Okay.
She's strong. She's strong, maybe strong in all the wrong areas. Because she meant that she had been by herself since she was at the age of 15. So she had to develop a neck of protection for herself and her kid. Her kid seems to be who she can confide with all at the same time and on a regular basis. And when the court ordered her to go to counseling to get her kid, she may feel lonely. She's lonely.
Okay. I'll go with that. All right. Say it again.
Yeah. And could some of her issues then be a learned behavior that she's been doing this since so young?
Yes. Yes.
And it was her sort of her way of protecting.
A learned behavior.
Protecting her environment.
So, what is the defense mechanism that she has?
Basically, just initially, just aggression.
Aggression, period.
Yes.
If she feels like she doesn't know, if she feels like she's feeling inadequate of any kind, she's fighting. Now.
So, displays some grief issues as well.
Yes, grief, loss, abandonment, things of that nature. Dr. Jones.
She's hurting.
She's hurting.
She's hurting from the loss of mama, from the loss of her daughter, and the daughter for a whole year. She doesn't.
How do you put that in the level of conflict? Grieving or hurting? You saying grieving? Or you saying grieving when you say hurting? That's one of it. See, you got to be able to dissect hurting. Hurting is such a broad statement. You got to be able to dissect what's hurting. Loss of parent, regret for not being there with the parent, loss of child, abuse from the father. Abandonment, all of that. Insecurities of inadequacy because she had to go live with her grandmother. Mama, you chose him over me. Why did you choose to stay with him? All of that is there. Now, you got your levels of conflict in your problem list. You got one for me, Kelsey? What you got?
I put trauma.
Trauma?
Because
as evidenced by or as indicated by?
She beat up
as evidenced by or as
evidenced by she beat up her daddy, so then she started beating up her baby daddy. Well, she said that she put the
that's a good connection.
Yeah,
that's a very good connection.
So, maybe her baby daddy triggered something.
That reminded her of her dad. That's, I didn't make that connection. Good job. Very good.
Instructor's daughter.
Instructor's daughter. All right, we're transitioning. You have your levels of conflict. Level 1 conflict, level 2 conflict, level 3 conflict. Now we're going to the treatment plan. Go to the treatment plan. You have your paper for the treatment plan. Go to that page for the treatment plan. As you go to that page, you have some things you need to do. First thing is, don't worry about the treatment plan that's in the book, the diagnosis. I gave you a printout of the treatment plan. What's the first thing we need to do up there? Fill in the patient's name. You remember the patient's name? Did you write down the patient's name?
Yes.
Okay. Fill out that information. Make up some stuff. Whatever you don't have that you didn't give, you're writing on that treatment plan now.
So in the dissertation, we put their address? Oh,
No.
for the fake address?
Fake address. All of that's falsified information right there. You're not going to use actual information there.
For the discussion, did we use
That form?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to take solutions counseling off the top of it.
You can, and I still gotta figure out how to scan and text it.
Not only can you scan that, you can recreate that on Word document or anything else like that. Or you can just go, they have plenty of treatment plans that are free online documents. I mean, you just Google free treatment plans. You'll be able to download those things. But I mean, you can recreate, get creative. Get creative with it. All right, and once you fill out that top information, first section we have, after that top information, Dr. Swain, is you have to establish a long-term goal based off what you just learned about the client. Try to come up with a long-term goal in one sentence. Now we know that in dealing with the client, we can actually come up with a long-term goal for every problem. We know that, but we're talking about holistically right now. For class sake, let's stay on that part right there. We're talking about where would I like to see the client long-term. If I'm thinking that managing emotional distress, and actually think on this stuff. Pull out a thesaurus on your phone. Find other words to go with the word to sound like you know what you're talking about. I want the client to act better. No, it's not going to be fun. We ain't going to work with that. We ain't going to work with that. Long-term goal may sound something like desire to see the client better manage emotional distress, see the client reunited with the daughter, see the client in a healthy emotional state of mind with a strong support system. Whatever it is, whatever your long-term goal, come up with a long-term goal. Now, after you come up with that long-term goal, you should have a session objective. Am I right? Your session objective. What were you looking to accomplish in that freedom session? Remember, what was I doing in the freedom? What were Dr. Pat and I doing in the freedom session? What was our purpose?
Collecting data.
Collecting data. To gather information. You wouldn't say collect data in your session objective, but you would say something to the wording of gather information concerning clients' past, present hurts, fears, doubts. Find ways to gain trust of client. One step at a time. One step at a time. I can't hear the client all in one session, all of the time. Sometimes one session will be more than enough. Then after that category of session objectives, we have what, Kelsey? Procedures. Procedures are the things that you actually did in the session. So you would say conducted a freedom session. Question the client concerning childhood. Question the client concerning the court order. Question the client concerning the client's child. And you would list the child's name on there in parentheses. Priscilla Jackson.
Did that just come to you, Dr. You're like, Priscilla.
Baby, I was making them. I was thinking as I was like, people tell you to think on, you have to learn how to think on your feet. That was one of them times.
You will list every single thing you did in that session under your procedures. That's the activities that you conducted. And then once you start learning certain exercises and activities, then you'll be able to list that on there. But in the freedom session, you just list everything you questioned about. You would definitely have to have the client sign a waiver. And it wouldn't be hard. You just tell the client that, hey, confidentiality agreement causes me, I'm sure I'm bound by confidentiality agreement to make sure none of this information. But I keep record file of all of my clients' audio as well as a paper trail as well. And once you say that in the beginning, you're good for the rest of the session. And you will always start off that session saying, this is Dr. Byron Nisha Thomas, license number such and such, such and such, with client such and such, such and such. And then you will flow.
At some point in time, successfully, I will have a license number.
Yeah, you're gonna have a license number once you get licensed by the AACT. You're gonna get a license number.
You said go for the board.
The licensing board. No. You don't have to go before. Your dissertation is gonna go for you. Your dissertation is gonna go before you.
Now, in the second of to do a dissertation, you have to have a committee, and you actually do go for it.
No, your dissertation is going to go as your ambassador.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
The procedure and the topic, when you, just like for instance, you wanted control of you, would you put that you took control of the situation, or would that not be one?
I wouldn't put it that you can.
Okay,
I wouldn't put that I took control of the situation.
Okay.
I would put that under concerns that the client is most comfortable when in control.
Okay.
Anybody, you see concerns on that paper as well?
No, you told me right somewhere last.
Oh, yeah, I think
On the session notes, okay. The concerns on the session notes. I would put there, what are some more concerns that I have for the client?
Okay, I already had that, okay, so that would be.
Anybody got any more concerns? Say it again. Mental well-being, ma'am. She's sleeping in a car. That's a concern. I may not have a client next week. She's sleeping in a car. That's a concern. So what would I do with that concern? Because I can't help the client. The client is just concerned about where they're going to sleep at tonight. How can I help the client? So when we break from that session, I'm using my resources. I'm Googling if I have to find shelters, to find contact, to find organizations, to find battered women's shelters, whatever it is, to find a place for her to stay. So when she comes back, I'm also helping her with that part. She's trusting me a little bit more. And I'm not just shoving it to her when she comes back. I'm not just saying, hey, found somewhere for you to stay. I'm just saying, last time you told me that you were sleeping in a car. She said, yeah, I'm still sleeping in my car. Okay. Would you like for me to help you with that? No, you don't have to help me with that. Well, I tell you what, I have some contact numbers right here. Some people I did contact. If you decide to take advantage of this, you don't have to sleep in your car. I'm going to put that in my hand. Because she's aggressive. If she wasn't aggressive, I would tell her, I got somewhere for you to stay. But because she's aggressive, she doesn't like to feel like she don't know, she don't have, she can't do.
How far can you go into?
Which is a problem. Which should be on a problem.
How far can you go into, involving yourself with her, getting her child back as a counselor? We know she's going through the courts and the child's been taken. Can the counselor get involved in the court?
What do you mean involved?
Like, making sure that she's,
Making sure she's positioned.
Yeah, ready to get, to receive the
Yeah,
child
you
back.
can definitely write a letter of recommendation.
I mean, in the long run, that's why I'm going to counseling anyway, because I need her okay from a professional, standpoint, to be able to say that, okay, she has gained enough self-control, et cetera, to be able to handle her child.
And of course, it'll be worded a little bit different. Counselor believes that client has exemplified self-control, emotional stability, things of that nature. I mean, once I see, and I would let her know, somewhat not at the beginning of the session, but I would let her, or the session, I would let her know when I start seeing progress that I plan to write a letter of recommendation. And then when the client leaves, I want to tell the client that when the client is done, I'm going to tell the client I want to put something in her hand to make her feel like, okay, great. And I'm also going to give one to the courts as well.
Okay. What if she did not make progress? You know, I'm just, possibility.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it happens where they do not.
If it's court ordered, you're gonna have to give a report anyway. And you just report what you saw. The client showed incredible disdain for all of the counseling sessions. Client was tardy. Client didn't take sessions serious. Client didn't bring any of the homework back. Client skipped sessions. You would just, whatever your notes were, you would present those notes for the client. Just because the client didn't show up don't mean you don't have notes. Your notes are just shorter.
So a child taken away is a concern.
That can be a problem or a concern. It can be both. Did you list it as a problem? Okay, I would list it as a problem. That's a problem because it's a part of her mental well-being. It seemed to be the only constant of stability for her. Mm-hmm. Nothing up until this point. Anger is a problem because they're down as well. That's one of the things on the problem list. But an environmental problem would be preparation for her to be, because if she get her child back, she's going to have to know how to act. I would list it as a problem so I can address some of those issues. Conflict resolution, making sure that anger management and all of those sessions. See, whatever on my problem list is going to let me know what type of sessions I need to have for the client.
And with her sleeping in her car, you have a housing problem, and then she probably doesn't have a job. So you got,
You got a bunch of things.
you got so many things with this one. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Prior to-
It can be a problem as well if you want to list it as a problem. You're the counselor. What is the fine line for that? If it's a counselor living in the car, then you would have to have sessions that will be life management. What's the opposite of living in the car? Being able to sustain your own life. It'll be a concern for right now.
Getting and keeping them quiet, lights, et cetera, all that goes.
Managing responsibility.
Right.
It could be managing finances. All right, everybody got that treatment plan done? You got additional notes at the bottom in case you wanted to add some of those things? Anything that what will go with an additional note? This will go. Some things you need to focus on next session. So that way you don't forget. When you look in the file, you're prepping for the client. The hardest part of counseling is what? Paperwork and what? Preparation. So when I'm preparing for the next session with the client, I look at the folder, I see something that reminds me of the client, because what if my caseload becomes so big that I don't remember what I talked about with the client or what I need to deal with the client. Then I can look at it and say, okay, yeah, I remember I need to address this with the client. I may need to address something. I may need to look up something. I may need to look into something. I may want to write right there at the bottom additional notes, check with shelters and housing possibilities for the client, stuff like that. You're going to have time for, if you start now with your freedom sessions, you're going to have time for whatever you have time for. I mean, if you have freedom sessions, you need at least 2 sessions with 2 clients. So you need a consultation and at least 2 sessions. So all of you turn in is freedom sessions, that's fine. Then what do I do with the client when I'm done with my dissertation?
Continue.
You continue with it. Give them what? You continue. Well, you kind of got to use this client as your sacrificial lamb. No, you can't come back later and say, hey, I'm out of school now, you open water. You can't do that. So what you'll do, you just stick with that, and you'll tell the client, do you have anybody that's referral? And if you tell them that they're referral, then they're referral from you, I will give them an incredible deal that will pay. And that's how you build your clientele. And you know another thing you do? If you're going to go into marriage and family counseling, if you're going to do anything like that, you get your business card. You go on the 4th floor of the courthouse, and you pass out your business cards, where everybody is in family court. And all you do is go pass out your business card. Hey, my name is so-and-so. You look the part. You look the part. You dress the part. You had something you were about to say. What was that?
How often are we going to hold these sessions to have paperwork for this?
You need 2 sessions per client. So that's on you. If you want to have it every week, if you want to have it twice a week, if you want to have it once every other week, you need 2 sessions per client.
So if it's that's not a whole bunch of paper.
Say it again.
If you're doing 2 pages per session, and we have 4 sessions, then
How many?
we have 8 sheets of paper.
You got more than 8 sheets of paper.
If you're doing two
You got problem list paper. You got consultation paper. You got session notes paper. All of that go into that part right there. You only have 2, 4, 8 sheets of session notes. Yeah, session notes. But you have problem lists and all of that that add to that pages. Add to those pages. Anybody else? Kelsey, if you can stop the video for me, that'd be great. Come on, give yourself a hand. Awesome job. All right, we're going to go to next week real quick. Next week.